Good morning, everyone, and welcome to MyDocSafe Webinar. My name is Daniel, and I'll run you through the platform today. It's just 11, so we usually wait for a few more minutes for more attendees. But in the meantime, please feel free to chat with me and tell me a bit more about your business case, what you're looking for, and what you would like me to cover today. If I don't hear from you, I'll just do a quick run up through the platform. I'm just starting to share my screen right now, and we'll see how it goes. So let me just bring up all the chat windows on the other screen so that I know when you're trying to talk. All right. I hope you can hear me and see the screen. So let me begin. Well, what is MyDocSafe? MyDocSafe is a client portal, e-sign, and business proposal platform, primarily for professional services firms, but we are pretty much industry agnostic and can work in any industry which needs to sign deals and sell through the internet, and potentially has employees, suppliers, investors who need to be whose data needs to be properly protected. In this webinar, I'll just go through the platform, tell you where to find things, and if you have specific questions, I can dive into them straight away, but you would need to first chat with me or let me know that this is what you would like. Right, so when you log in, you will see this dashboard. The dashboard will show you what's happening in the account through a notifications table. These notifications can be archived. They can be turned on and off in your personal settings here in the top right corner. You could turn some of them off if you don't want all of them to be visible. And below, you will see a second dashboard which relates to workflows. Workflows are activities or actions that you can send to your counterparties, either as onboarding workflows or business proposals, you name it. And these are usually multi-step actions that include form filling, contract signing, payments, etc. And you could design them the way you want, and then you could track them through the separate dashboard here. Most of the account settings are accessible through your home screen here on the left. The sales flows is where you would hold your services, your prices, your service descriptions, your tax information, pretty much the menu of your services. You could assemble them into packages. You could import the data through CSV file. So it does require some configuration, but once it's done, it's done. You have a single place where all your pricing lives, so that you and your colleagues or your sales team can refer to it and can assemble quotes and proposals based on this information very quickly. Other account information is here in settings. I'm not going to go through all of that. There are separate webinars and videos where you could see how you can configure your account. But these are pretty much straightforward, and I'm sure you would recognize what these things are straight away. Now the top element here is contacts. That's where you could hold all your contact information of your counterparties. We have two types of contacts: individuals and companies, and then you could create sort of relationships between them. So you could have, let's say, a list of organizations that could have links to individuals, so that if you have an individual, you will know where they what function they have at a specific organization. So it's like a mini CRM. And most of those contacts are created automatically when you invite someone to a portal, for example. But we also recommend that you import your contacts up front. If, for example, you have a list of clients and already, and you're moving from another system. Another note about contacts is that you could you could assemble them into groups. And the reason why it may be useful is if, for example, you're sending circulars to a group of investors or directors or clients, and you don't want to remember who they are or type their email addresses individually, you could simply assemble them into a group, add them, and then use the name of the group when, let's say, sending those circulars to them. It's a very powerful feature that way. Now, let me just take a look at what a contact sheet looks like for an individual. So you see the information you would expect on the left. So basic contact information. Here below, you have some interesting elements which most CRMs actually do not have. So one is you could set up a default password for a contact. If you, for example, transact with them a lot and send documents for signing, and you would like to have this extra layer of protection that is memorable. So rather than asking the person to provide an SMS code, or you could set up a password, share the password with them, and basically then ask them to use it whenever you send a document for signing. This other element here for folder linked to contact, it's a very interesting feature when you want to collate all the documents that the person has been signing into a specific folder. So rather than saving a signed version of a document in the current folder, wherever you are, you could actually redirect it to be saved in a specific folder for this particular person. And we would just do the housekeeping for you as long as we know where that folder lives. And here on the right, you see how this contact is related to other elements of the platform. You could create links to other contacts, organizations, and then specify what type of contact it is. You automatic, and this is something you do manually. You see a portal list, and these are all the portals that this contact has access to, and they show up here automatically. And you could go into them straight from the contact sheet. And on the bottom, you see the groups, which I just mentioned. So if the person is a member of one or more groups, they will show up here as well. On the right-hand side, you see custom fields, which is basically an element of the contact sheet which is bespoke to you. Here you could design a template of extra fields that you want to store, and then this template will be applied to every contact sheet, and then you could edit those details. So for example, you may want to collect other elements of data, including checkboxes, all types of data fields. You could design it yourself, and then it'll become part of the contact sheet itself. So these are the contacts. Now let's move into the transactional elements of the platform. As you could see, we have 3 tabs here, which are interesting. I'll just go through them one by one. Documents is the internal document management system, like a Dropbox. It's 100% cloud-based, so it doesn't synchronize with your desktop, and is intended to be internal. So this is where you could hold files and folders of your client's data that is not shared externally, but it's only for internal purpose. You actually could do most of the things related to, let's say, signatures or data collection through this area. But it's the experience is slightly different. I mean, the end user experience is slightly different because you do not actually create portals. You do not create shared spaces. Everything is internal to you, which means that, for example, when you send a document for signing from here, the counterparty will receive an email with a link. They will be able to click on that link, sign the document. A signed version will end up back here in the current folder, unless, of course, you redirect it to the special folder that I just mentioned that is related to a specific contact. Then your counterparty gets their copy of the document, and that's it. There is no sort of ongoing shared space anywhere. It's basically one deal, document signed, everyone gets their copy, and goodbye. Similarly, if, for example, you create a questionnaire, such as this one, which you could preview, it looks like that. If you want to use it for data collection, you can share it through a link or through email or through even a button that you publish on your website. And whenever someone fills that questionnaire, all the records will end up here on the record sheet of this form on the right-hand side. As you can see, I don't have any records here. So these things are completely sort of separated in terms of you own the data, the client simply provide the data. There are benefits to it. The main one is that you could have one questionnaire with multiple records that come from multiple parties, and you could export them all into your computer. And that can be useful for example, for feedback, for some basic information. Although for more complicated situations, we would advise you to actually use portals where you could also embed those questionnaires. So these are the documents. Now let's move to the portals, which is the main sort of transactional element of the system. You have two types of portals. One we call clients and one we call prospects. The client type is this is the place through which you would actually share information, where you could you design the portals, their look and feel, their structures, their folder templates, workflows, a lot. I mean, really, you could pretty much design your desired user experience. Just to give you an example of what a sort of simple portal may look like, this is the homepage. There is a welcome message. There is a notifications tab showing only the the things that happen inside this portal. There is a comments section, and on the left-hand side you see portal navigation with all the tabs that can be configured here. And then below it, you see the individuals who have access to this portal. So in the clients portal groups, let's go back to the portal. So here in this side of things, each of those portal groups are collections of individual portals, and you can clone them. You could create them, invite your clients to them, one or more parties, and then you could enter those portals and then run your transactions. You could communicate with your clients through the comments. You can upload documents here. You could send them for signing. You could invite clients to specific workflows. You could message them. You could ask them to run ID tests. Pretty much you could run entire complex transactions. I'm not going to go into details of what transactions. All I'm going to say is that there are separate webinars for showing you how to configure them. As you can see, all the sort of configuration elements are here, starting with the workflow templates tab going down. And then between those two lines here, you see sort of the actions that you would apply on existing portals. So you could create portals in bulk. You could do secure document distribution, where you simply drag and drop, let's say 20 files, click a button, and then they will just be distributed to individual portals at the click of a button. You could request information where you could ask, let's say, 50 clients to fill a specific form straight away, or you could broadcast a message to all your to clients who have access to this portal group, and you could make announcements. So this is the main sort of transaction area where you deal with existing clients. But what if your client is not yet a client? You need to do the selling, and this is where we for this purpose we offer the prospects portal group, which pretty much includes pre-sales or the proposal workflows. So let me just go to an example one. This group lists all the workflows that are out there that you've sent out, and each of those workflows can be tracked, deleted, edited, downloaded. Now, what is exactly a workflow? So let me actually try to create a new prospect. I could create a new one, or I can just send a new offer to an existing client. and then I could maybe use a template, but let me just try to go through the longer route just to show you what really a workflow is. So here we are. This is an empty workflow editor. You can rename it, and then you could start assembling elements of that workflow by clicking on the plus button. And this is where you will see half a dozen or so elements which you could assemble into a linear step-by-step workflow. These workflows, as you could see, could include, and let me go from the top to bottom, request a signature. Well, that's basically our eSign product. You could upload a document, drag and drop the fields of where you want the client to sign, and then you could, so let me just go through this now. Please sign. I can upload a document. Let me just go to a dummy document here. Maybe it's an engagement letter. You can upload it. You could specify some notifications and reminders. Then the document will open up. You could drag and drop the signature fields and other types of fields, name them, resize them, provide default values, you name it, and then you can save the template. So now this widget, we call this a widget, has been saved. You now can move on to the next element. So let's say we would like to ask to view and approve. What does that mean? Well, this means that you are going to show a document, maybe a marketing brochure or some sort of, or T's and C's, basically something that doesn't need a signature, but you want the prospect to actually familiarize themselves with the content of the document. So the setup is a little bit simpler. You select the document. Maybe this is called, our pitch to you, and you save it and you're done. Now, the next one is services and payments. Well, this is the core element of the e-commerce platform that allows you to provide quotes, assemble quotes, and also take payments. So I've shown you earlier that in the home screen you have what we call sales flows, where you store the definition and pricing and tax information of all your services. Well, that information is now accessible through this widget here. So these are the services that I have saved with all the sections, and all I can do, and now what I can do is turn these on for the quote. And now what is interesting is that if you do not want to charge straight away after the quote is approved, you can you pretty much provide information. You basically say, okay, I will charge you manually later, or maybe I will charge you manually in arrears. So at the end of the billing period, so you could provide sort of each of those services can be assembled in a different section and summarized based on the type of billing you want. If you actually do want to charge, then what will happen is that all the services that are turned on with a tick box will be assembled into a payment request straight after the quote is accepted, and all the services with this clock setting, they will be shown. The person will be able to accept the quote, but you will not be asking for the payment straight away. You will basically be saying, well, thank you for accepting the quote. I'll bill you later. This may be very useful if you're charging per hour, or if you simply don't know what the right amount is just yet. Maybe these are just indicative quotes. Either way, you have that capability. Now, of course, on the fly, you could adjust the pricing and the quantity and the taxation. So this information is basically brought in from the settings, but you could adjust it for each individual quote. And once you're happy with that, you could click save, and now you have the services. And you could carry on. There is a questionnaire, so you could add a form that you want the client to fill in. And here, if you turn this on, you can only use the ones that you've already defined in your templates. if this list is empty in your account, you need to create them first, but let me just create an example form, and then you could carry on. There is an element called send an email, and that's an interesting element that is particularly useful if you want a break in the process, because it's a very complicated onboarding workflow, and you want, for example, to pause it, send someone an email that all the person needs to do something, and then resume the process. So there is a way to do this. It's a more complicated setup process. I'm not going to get into details now. All I want you to remember is that it's possible. Then the next one is ID verification. It's a very powerful widget which we use to help you go through KYC actions. We bring this technology to you through Yoti. Yoti is our partner here, and we serve as their reseller. And we embed their technology seamlessly into the workflow. And you have two types of tests available. We charge for each separately in arrears on a monthly basis for whatever you used, without any separate sort of commitment fees or credit purchases. And the first one allows you to verify someone's identity through their ID document and through a selfie. The system would extract data from the identity document. It would compare the photo with the selfie, and then would compare the data with publicly available information, assemble all of it into a report, and send it back to you. The next, this test is a separate one. You could turn it on and off. It's a proof of address test, which would require the end user to provide a document such as a council tax or a bill or a bank statement, which would also be scanned. The data would be extracted and then compared with publicly available information. And then the system would just tell you if it looks all right. Now, even if, there are limits to technology. Sometimes the picture is blurred, or the data is not properly read, or maybe there are no records. You will still get a report which would be color coded, and you will see the underlying data provided by the client, and you'll be able to make up your own mind of whether to reject it, ask the client to redo the test, or to give the green light. So that's the ID test, and then you have message. You have message widgets where you could add in between those elements if you would like to break the process and provide more detailed information as well. Now, we've assembled a workflow. You could copy it as a template so that you don't need to do this every time you create a workflow, or not. And then once you're happy, you could complete and send it to the counterparty. Just a brief note on these little Thunderbolt widgets here. What they are basically event management tools. So, for example, if you would like to be notified when someone reaches a certain element in the workflow, you could do this here, either by setting up an event when the widget is activated or completed. So let's say once this is completed, I could set the status to completed, or I could send an email to somebody telling them, okay, this has been completed. You could create a list of statuses yourself, so here, this is the edit statuses button, where you could add your statuses that are bespoke to your workflow. So you could say, I don't know, ID verification completed, or quote accepted, and then enable them as needed. The completed status is the only one provided by default and is usually reserved for the last step in the workflow. So now you have a workflow assembled. Let's actually share it with the person. Now, you could still change your mind about who it goes to at this stage, and you could pull in a welcome message, either from a template or just you could type it in. I'm going to just use one of the welcome messages. Please sign this. Well, that's a bit of a trivial welcome message, and you could send it out. So the workflow is sent, it's placed on the dashboard, and now we could move to the inbox of the recipient and see what has arrived. The email is here. You could see it's a branded email with a logo and the colors of your account. There is a button called Proceed to Proposal. Well, you may not like this label. We allow you to change it here in settings. So you could say, rather than proceed to proposal, you could say something else, such as, accept the quote or go through the pre-sale workflow. It's really up to you. Either way, let's go back and click on the button and see what the end user experiences. So after the person clicks on the button, they will go straight into the workflow. And the workflow should begin now. Let me just see why it's not loading. Oh, it was just slow. All right. So the workflow has begun, and this is what it looks like. So you could see that all the widgets are shown on the left-hand side in the order that you've specified, and all the contents are right here. So I could actually sign the document either by typing my name or drawing it or even uploading a signature. I can edit. I can provide the data that I need to. Maybe this is director. And I can then click on the submit button and then move on to the next one, which is, in this case, just view and approve, which is sort of a marketing pitch in this case. I can just acknowledge and close and then move on to the next one. And here I can see the quote. It's been assembled for me. As you could see, there are two elements to it. There are things that I want to set up a payment for straight away, and there are billings in arrears. And I can actually go and provide my credit card details straight away and pay. And then I'll move on to the subsequent elements. So as you could see, the system is extremely flexible. You decide what you want to show in what order and what experience you want to give to your end user. And this workflow is accessible straight from email. So it's ideal for selling. The client doesn't need login details. They can always go back, they can abandon this and move back and move back to this workflow through the same link. So it's fairly easy for the end user to go through it. Now, once the deal is won, well, we would recommend you go back here and then actually invite the client to one of the transactional portals where similar workflows can be embedded. But of course, the portals are much more diverse because they're not just about a single workflow. They're about all those other elements, such as document management, requesting data and documents and messages and signing, and including workflows as well. But those workflows, we find from experience that those workflows are then used for more complicated onboarding, which you actually want to do through a portal, or for upselling, if you would like to actually purchase more stuff during the course of engagement. So that is sort of the overview of the prospect portal group in a nutshell. We've done the clients. Now let's just move on to the signatures tab. That bit shows you pretty much everything about the documents you've sent for signing through the platform. As you could see, you could send documents from the documents area, which is internal to your practice, from the portals area, which could be either while selling or through a portal. And so you have pretty much 3 places from which documents can be sent for signing. Now, the signatures dashboard assembles all of them in a single place, and you could filter them out by status, by date, by the person who signed, and see see where they are. So here I'm looking at documents I sent that are unsigned, and I can click on the eye icon here on the right and see the status. So I could see that when the document was created, when the notifications were sent, and as I see, well, nothing was done. So I could either cancel, I can send another reminder. maybe it turned out that the email is incorrect and it bounced. Well, then you could change it on the fly and then send it to another person. If you do nothing, the document will expire automatically within 30 days or less, depending on your setting. And that setting can be set here. It's a global setting in Home, Settings, e-signatures. You could see here, expiration period, 30 days. I think at maximum, you could actually set it to 60. The default is 30, but it could be as little as you want. So that's the signatures. If you work in a larger team, you could also look at the sent by all tab, where basically all documents sent by everyone in your team will be shown, and you can filter them by sender and then and also by date. So if someone is on holidays and you want to chase someone because it's a deal that is time sensitive, you could look it up right here. So that's pretty much the overview. Now, if you're thinking, well, where do I get started? How do I configure it? There is this eye icon here in the top right corner, which goes to help, and that's our knowledge database, which has pretty much all the tutorials and articles that we've created. But if you would like to just get started, click on the first one, on the tutorials. And here you could see we handhold you through all the steps that we think you should try before you either commit or get more involved in the configuration process. So start by signing something or inviting a client to a portal or sending a questionnaire. And then you could start adjusting your settings and importing contacts, setting up services, etc. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have a YouTube channel, and where we publish webinars and tutorials. It's accessible from our homepage, so it's right here. And these videos are shown here. They are split into several sections. So we have tutorials for specific functionalities. We have webinars for longer, which is a longer format like this one. So we have a few sort of general overviews, and then for more complicated features, we have dedicated videos as well. So we do encourage you to subscribe and then be notified when we publish something new. But in a nutshell, that's the overview. Now, let me pause to see if there are any questions. Right, I have one here from someone asking, what is this button? Create a company. Aren't we in an account? So this feature lets you create a separate subscription, potentially for a different brand or a different office or a different business. The benefit of doing it is that you will be able to access both accounts from a single login. But that account is ring-fenced. It has a separate subscription and can have completely different configuration and branding. And unless you invite the same individuals who have access to your current account, it's absolutely separate. So there is no data leakage or data transfer between the two that is possible unless you actually download documents from one onto your computer and then upload again to another. So that lets you ring fence concerns, but also have the convenience of accessing all those concerns from a single login. So that's this button. And also there is another sort of element to it. So as you can see, there is this change company feature. Now, if you are a recipient of a portal, so let's say your lawyer, your accountant, your wealth manager gave you a portal, they will be showing up here. So you pretty much can move from your own business to somebody else's business through this switcher, which is very convenient because it's very scalable. You don't need separate logins if other people send you things for signing or invite you to portals. Right. Okay. Well, I don't see any further questions, so I will stop now. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email us at customerservices@mydocsafehq.com or look up help articles through this icon here. Thank you very much for your attention, and bye for now.